Brazil, the most legendary football nation of all time, with 5 World Cup trophies, countless legends, and one of the most iconic jerseys of all sports. But wait. The 2026 World Cup is fast approaching, and from a Brazil standpoint, it feels a bit awkward. This actually might be the most awkward World Cup in Brazilian football history because you have a lot of people telling me that this team is ass, and I disagree. I don't think this is that bad of a team, but the data backs them, right? They can use the data to say I'm wrong, that this team sucks. But at the same time, myself included, many people look at this team, see the players they have available, and the coach that's in charge, and they will all say, this is a World Cup contender. So what is it? Don't worry. Today we have the ultimate Brazil 2026 World Cup preview, where I will be adding reason and context to all of that. Hello. If you're new here, I'm Filippo, and welcome to Chapéu Football, where we provide the best coverage of South American football and Brazilian football in English on YouTube. So if you're not subscribed, you're missing out. So just do it right now. And this will be the best Brazil World Cup preview on YouTube. And it's not because I am taller and better looking than Tom Cruise. It's simply because it will be the best content. Believe me. First, I'm going to go through how Brazil got here to the World Cup in what was the worst cycle in Brazilian football history. Then we'll dive into their World Cup group, roster, and projected starting 11 for Brazil in the 2026 World Cup. And this video is brought to you by Proton VPN, but more on that later. Right now, just make sure to drop a like if you haven't already. It helps the channel quite a bit. It helps a lot, and it's free. And subscribe for more Brazilian football content, World Cup coverage that we will be doing over the next few weeks. Okay, let's roll the intro and start the episode. Alright, so why don't we start by talking about how Brazil got here in the 2026 World Cup. So this 2026 World Cup cycle started with what I call funeral vibes, because after Brazil lost to Croatia in the 2022 World Cup, that's what it felt like, right? The vibes were just not there. Chichi, the head coach that coached Brazil in the 2018 and 2022 World Cup, was gone, and it was time for Brazil to start over. So they started the cycle in early 2023 around January with an interim head coach called Ramon Menezes, which I made a whole video dedicated to how bad Ramon Menezes is as a coach. Like, this guy is bad. He's so bad that being as bad as he is as hard as winning a World Cup. Believe me, just go watch the video we made about Ramon Menezes and you'll understand. He's one of the worst football coaches of all time. And during that time, there were rumors that Carlo Ancelotti would take over the Brazilian national team. That's why they had an interim head coach. But then it didn't happen. So Brazil parted ways with Ramon Menezes around mid-2023, around the summer of 2023, and signed Fernando Diniz as the coach. At the time, Fernando Diniz was coaching Brazil and Fluminense. So he was coaching the national team and a club. Obviously, that didn't go well. With that, Edinaldo Rodrigues, the Muppet in charge of the Brazilian Football Federation at the time, decided to sign Dorival Jr. in January of 2024. Now, Dorival had won the Libertadores and Brazilian Cup with Flamengo in 2022, along with the Brazilian Cup with São Paulo in 2023. So not bad. But ultimately, Dorival Jr. is a mediocre coach. And you sign a mediocre coach, you get mediocre results. And Dorival was in charge of Brazil for 16 games. He got 7 wins, 7 draws, and 2 losses. Brazil was knocked out in the 2024 Copa America in the quarterfinals, which is not good. And in World Cup qualifying, they were looking super shaky. Regardless, Dorival lasted till March of 2025. He was fired after he lost to Argentina 4-1 in World Cup qualifying. And with that, Brazil decided to hit the panic button. And they finally were able to sign Carlo Ancelotti. Ancelotti took over. He played the last few, I believe 4 World Cup qualifying games, got Brazil into the World Cup, and that's it for this cycle. Now listen, in World Cup qualifying, Brazil finished in 5th place with 28 points. If it was not for the expanded World Cup, Brazil would have gone to the Interconfederation playoffs, the repescagem. So if it was the old World Cup with 32 teams where CONMEBOL had only 5 spots and one of them was a playoff spot, Brazil would not have qualified directly to the World Cup. That's how bad this World Cup qualifying campaign went. And mind you, Brazil has never failed to qualify for a World Cup. So this was the worst campaign in Brazilian football history in World Cup qualifying. The only one that comes close was 2002, which, funny enough, it was when Brazil won the World Cup last time. But look at this. In 2022, the 2022 World Cup cycle, Brazil had 14 wins, 3 draws, and 0 losses. In 2018, Brazil had 12 wins, 5 draws, and 1 loss. In the 2010 World Cup qualifying cycle, Brazil had 9 wins, 7 draws, and 2 losses. And in 2006, 9 wins, 7 draws, and 2 losses. So if you add up the 2 losses of 2006, the 2 losses of 2010, the 1 loss of 2018, it's still less than the amount of losses Brazil had just in this World Cup qualifying cycle. So in the past 4, the 4 before this one, Brazil had less losses if you add them all up. So what's the point I'm trying to make? The 2026 World Cup cycle was a disaster. World Cup qualifying, terrible. The friendlies that Brazil played, terrible. In Copa America, also terrible. So remember when I said that the people that said this Brazilian team sucks had data to back it? That's the data. So when they use that, they're right. Brazil also had 4 coaches throughout the cycle, which is insane, right? In less than 4 years. But listen, there is hope, because it's always the darkest before dawn. All right, so now I want to go through the Brazilian roster to show you why Brazil is actually a title contender, the projected starting 11, Brazil's group in the World Cup, and why I am actually optimistic that Brazil could win it. Now, before we continue, a quick word from the sponsor of this video, Proton VPN. If you need a VPN, we have a very special offer for you, so do not go anywhere. The World Cup is here, and you want to watch the games without being watched. And that's why today we are partnering up with Proton VPN. With Proton VPN, you can watch the games with no tracking, no data collection, and your privacy being protected. I mean, we don't want that search history leaking. Essentially, you watch the game without being watched. Also, if you are traveling outside of the United States or out of your own home country during the World Cup, you can use Proton VPN. And that will allow you to access your home broadcasts from the subscriptions that you already have. Some people prefer a more familiar broadcast, so even miles away, it still feels like home. And if you use my link, which is protonvpn.com/chapéu, as in CHAPEU, you will get a special offer throughout the World Cup. You can also use the link in the description of this video. And this is big. You'll get 50% off if you sign up for 1 month. You'll get 65% off if you sign up for a full year. Now, if you sign up for 2 years, you get 70% off, which comes out to be less than $3 a month. Again, just go to protonvpn.com/chapéu to get that special offer. Thank you very much, Proton, for sponsoring the channel. Okay. First and foremost, let's talk about the roster. Then I'll go towards the projected starting 11. And last but not least, we'll talk about Brazil's group and how I think Brazil will play in the World Cup, like Ancelotti's approach, even though we made a whole video about that, right? If you look up on our videos, like Ancelotti's plan to win the World Cup, I do a tactical breakdown of how I think Brazil will be set up during the World Cup. But anyhow, let's go to the roster, because people are saying this Brazil team cannot win the World Cup. They're not good enough. But you look at the names, if this team's not good enough to win the World Cup, like who is, right? 2 teams only, 3 maybe. Goalkeepers, we have Alisson from Liverpool, Ederson from Fenerbahce, and Weverton from Grêmio. So goalkeepers, I have a bit of a concern here in terms of depth. I'm not concerned about Alisson. He's fine, and he's good enough to help the team win the World Cup. But if Alisson goes down with an injury or he can't play for whatever reason, explosive diarrhea, I don't trust Ederson. And as a Palmeiras fan, if it was Weverton like 5 years ago, I would trust him. The current version of Weverton, especially the way he was playing for Palmeiras last year, I don't trust him. So there's a little bit of depth issue there in the goalkeeping position, but it's not too concerning because as long as Alisson is healthy, there should be no problems there. So now let's go to the defenders, which are the fullbacks and the center backs. We have Danilo from Flamengo. I personally think Danilo has no business being in this World Cup. He can play as a right back, center back. I just don't think he's at the level right now that we would want him, but Ancelotti really wants him there for his leadership, I guess, and Danilo is there. Defender, we have Gabriel Magalhães from Arsenal, fantastic center back. Marquinhos from PSG, fantastic center back. Alexandro from Flamengo as well. Alexandro could even start, right? It's probably between Alexandro and Douglas Santos. I think the fullback position is definitely the weakest for Brazil right now when you look at the options we have, but Alexandro makes the roster here. Leo Pereira, the center back from Flamengo, is also there. Wesley, the right back from Roma, that also played for Flamengo, but now he's playing for Roma. Douglas Santos from Zenit, the left back. Bremer, the center back from Juventus. And Roger Ibanez from Al Ahly. So in terms of center back, we're fine, right? You have Marquinhos and Gabriel Magalhães. Those are top center backs. Leo Pereira is also not bad, right? I wouldn't want him to start, but he's not bad as a backup. Bremer is a good center back. The only concern here is the fullback position. I almost trust none of these players. Danilo, Alexandro, Wesley, Ibanez can also play as a right back. Wesley's probably the best one. He's actually a good player. My only concern with Wesley is he's very much error prone. And if you guys remember, you probably have good evidence of that, like in the Club World Cup, for example, where he can get a nice play up top, set up a teammate, get an assist, but he can also have a bad giveaway and concede a goal. Defensively, I don't think he's the best, but he's the least of my concerns there when it comes to fullback. Wesley's definitely the best option, which sucks because Brazil had other options that Carlo Ancelotti could have brought, but he chose not to do so, and it is what it is. Now, midfielders, we have Casemiro. He's back, even though he's been playing like he's wearing jeans pants, like he's a little stiff right there, but Casemiro's an experienced player. He can still help Brazil. Bruno Guimarães, one of the best midfielders in the Premier League. Fabinho, that used to play for Liverpool, now he's playing in Saudi Arabia. Paquetá from Flamengo, good player. Hasn't been at his best version for Flamengo, but he does show up for Brazil from time to time. Paquetá is there. And then you have Danilo from Botafogo, great box-to-box midfielder right there. Very good player, Danilo. That actually earned his spot in the last camp, right, in March when he played well for Brazil, Danilo, and then he got his spot in the World Cup. Now we have the forwards. We have Vinicius Jr. from Real Madrid, Mateus Cunha from Manchester United, Neymar from Santos, Rafinha from Barcelona, Ryan from Bournemouth, Igor Thiago from Brentford, Endrick from Lyon, Luis Henrique from Zenit, and Gabriel Martinelli from Arsenal. So up top, Brazil's stacked. There are some question marks in regards to the nine position. We'll see Mateus Cunha playing there. Maybe Igor Thiago, Endrick can play there. Neymar can play there as a false nine. But overall, Brazil is stacked. Like all these players right here, when you talk about title contenders, look at this. Vinicius, Mateus Cunha, Neymar, Rafinha, Ryan, Igor Thiago, Endrick, Luis Henrique, Gabriel. This is an incredible selection of players that play as forwards. There were good players that were left out, like João Pedro, but Brazil is stacked right here. And I'm definitely not concerned about that. So again, you look at that roster. The only weakness is the fullback position. The midfield's fine. The forwards are fine. Not fine. The forwards are incredible. Center backs are good. Allison is a world-class goalkeeper. How can you tell me this is not a title contender? And you have also Carlo Ancelotti in charge. So let's go through the projected starting 11. Now, mind you, this can and will change throughout the World Cup. This is just what I think will happen. And I've talked about this in previous videos of the projected starting 11 for Brazil. Very likely in the standard formation, it'll look like this, a 4-2-3-1 with Cunha playing up top, Vinicius on the left, Luis Henrique on the right. People are going to say, Luis Henrique from Zenit, he's been incredible for Brazil. That guy has pace, power, strength, and he's good like Luis Henrique. And on top of that, it goes to what I was talking about, how Carlo Ancelotti will set up his team. Very often we've seen Brazil defend in a 4-4-2 where Cunha sometimes drops and he kind of leaves Vinicius up top like this. So Luis Henrique has the athleticism to go back and forth. He's a two-way player. So he'll stay there. And very often we defend like this in a 4-4-2, Brazil, very often. And this is a great way to maximize Rafinha and Vinicius in transition. And Luis Henrique and Mateus Cunha, like them or not, they are willing to do the dirty work. They're willing to defend and play for the team. They're willing to press, right? Other players do as well. People talk about Vinicius. He does press when he has to. There's this narrative going on that Vinicius Jr. doesn't press. No, when you have to press, he does press. He's actually very good at pressing. Rafinha does as well. But Cunha and Luis Henrique are more willing to do the dirty work. And when you play like this and defend like this allows Vinicius and Rafinha right here to counterattack quick. And that's how Brazil can be deadly. I think not in the group stage because we play Morocco, Scotland, and Haiti. We're going to talk about the group in a second. But in the knockout rounds against good teams, like when we play England, for example, if Brazil makes it that far, even Japan, we'll see Brazil in a more reactive approach under Carlo Ancelotti. And I think that's how you get the best of this Brazilian generation. There's a lot of pace, a lot of speed with this team. And that's how I think you're going to get the best out of it. By the way, this lineup builder here is on the FootMob app and website. If you want to download it for free, the link will be in the description. They're not sponsoring this video. I just have the link in the description so you can download it for free. And when you do so, it just makes me look good with them. So if you want to download it, it's a great app for anyone that follows soccer or football up close. You want stats, build your own lineup and all that. So FootMob app is in the description. So again, this is how Brazil will usually defend. Now it could be Vinicius here too, and Cunha could be here, whatever. But we've seen this happen where Vinicius stays like a striker and Cunha drops. Now, when Brazil has the ball, Vinicius does tend to drop wide. Cunha does float around centrally along with Rafinha. He pulls up high of the field. Usually Guimarães goes a bit deeper, and we look a little bit like this sometimes. Obviously, sometimes he's higher up the field, but something like this when Brazil has the ball. Okay? The way I showed you the 4-4-2 is more when we are in a defensive shape. Again, a lot of this can change. We talked about also how Neymar might be utilized. I think if Neymar does play, he would likely go in for Cunha or Rafinha, and he would be playing as a false nine where he's like floating around. Rafinha goes here, Neymar goes here. Or if it's not Rafinha, maybe Cunha stays, right? Maybe Cunha will stay and play alongside Neymar if Neymar plays at all, right? Neymar is injured at the time of this recording. He will be fit. He will be healthy for the World Cup. But like I said, we don't know the situation with Neymar. That's only if he plays, which, again, as I said, we don't know. He'll very likely come off the bench. He didn't play against Panama. He's not playing the friendlies because he's not healthy. He will be healthy later on. But going on to this ultimate Brazil preview, the best one you'll see, we have to go through the group, right? We have to talk about the group. How could I go and do a preview without talking about the group? I'm not going to go through the bracket. As I said, very likely Brazil will play a team like Japan. Brazil, if they finish first, very likely Brazil will play England in the quarterfinals. That's going to be a big game, a tremendous game. But let's talk about the group. Brazil has Haiti, Morocco, and Scotland, right? And in this World Cup, if you get 4 points, you're pretty much through because the top 2 advance and the 8 best third place teams advance. I cover CONCACAF on another channel we have, Tactical Manager TV, a lot. Haiti is not a terrible team, but this is a team Brazil should absolutely smash. It should be 3-4-0. With all due respect, right? I don't think it's going to be something crazy like the Copa America in 2016 where Brazil beat them like 7-1. No, that's a result that brings bad memories too for Brazilians. But I think Brazil should absolutely smash Haiti. Now, the first game is against Morocco. Morocco are technically the AFCON champions right now, and they made it to the semifinals of the 2022 World Cup. I say technically because Senegal actually won AFCON, but then in court, Morocco won it. Regardless, they made it to the final of the AFCON. Morocco is an incredible team. And Brazil plays Morocco first. I think that is the toughest game of the group, easily, when we play Morocco. I think Brazil will end up tying Morocco, and then Brazil will beat Haiti. And it's about who scores more goals. So I think Brazil will finish first in this group based on goal differential. And ultimately, we'll face England in the quarterfinals at some point. And that's the big game we have to win, which I like Brazil's odds in that game. We'll talk about it when it happens, about Brazil going with a reactive approach against England with Thomas Tuchel. The game against Haiti, I said we should smash them. Morocco, very tough game right there. And then you have Scotland, led by Scott McTominay. Now, Scotland's a tough team. Brazil's played them in the World Cup many times, actually. Even the last time Scotland played in the World Cup was in 1998. They were in the same group as Brazil and Morocco, also Scotland. But Scotland's a must-win. If you want to win the World Cup, you have to beat Scotland and beat them well, like a solid 2-0 win. So it's not going to be easy, and Scotland is a tough team to beat, but they're not a high-quality team. What I have to say about this group, this is a group that's not easy, but I'm sorry. This is a group you have to finish first or second, worst case scenario. You should try to top it, even though Morocco's there. I also don't know how Morocco will behave in this World Cup now that the spotlight is on them. One thing is for you to be the underdog of the World Cup, like they were in 2022, where no one's expecting anything from you, and you go far. You have that fight in you. Now the spotlight is on Morocco. People have expectations, and I don't know how they'll react. We'll see. We'll find out. But anyhow, everyone, now let's move on in this video and let me talk about my actual expectations for Brazil in this World Cup and do I think they're actual World Cup contenders or pretenders? And if you haven't already, make sure to drop a like in this video. Just do it right now. Drop a like and subscribe to the channel. Okay, let's move on to the next section. Okay, so what are my final thoughts and expectations for this World Cup? To me, anyone saying that Brazil are the heavy favorites is delusional. Okay, there's at least 3 national teams that I think are ahead of Brazil, one of them being France, Spain, right now even Argentina. But anyone saying Brazil is not a title contender is full of crap. Brazil is a legit title contender. They'll use excuses like Brazil hasn't made it to a final or won a World Cup in 24 years. Well, guess what? Brazil won the 1970 World Cup, and then they didn't win a World Cup till 1994. That is 24 years later, the same amount of time as now. And guess what? it was also in the United States of America, coincidence or not. Second thing, historically, South American nations do well when the World Cup is not played in Europe. Just look up at the data. It's true. It's a fact. Also, Brazil has Carlo Ancelotti in charge. This is easily the best coach Brazil has ever had in World Cup history. On top of all of that, you do still have experienced players like Casemiro, high quality players like Bruno Guimarães, Vinicius Jr., Rafinha, and then you have also upcoming talent like Endrick. The defense is also quite good. Marquinhos and Gabriel Magalhães, two players that were in the Champions League final. And then you also have Neymar, the enigma Neymar. We don't know what version we're going to get of him, but we could get a very good Neymar off the bench. And trust me, the summer here in the United States will be brutal for many of the European sides. Brazilians are used to it. So this is what I'll say. Brazil has a legit shot in winning this World Cup. Do not let anyone tell you otherwise, okay? That is a fact. Are they the heavy favorites? No. But I wouldn't be surprised if they won it. So if you're Brazilian, remain optimistic. The Hexa might come in 2026 in the United States of America. The last time Brazil went through a World Cup drought was 1970 till 1994, which was the World Cup played in the United States, just like this one, and Brazil finally won it once again. I want to thank you all very much for watching. We will be doing a full coverage of Brazil in this World Cup, so make sure you're subscribed, hit the like button. Thank you very much, Proton VPN, for sponsoring this video, and that's all for today. Thank you very much for watching, and have a great day.